We have Bitcoin on, or versus the dollar, actually, I should say. I want to follow up on yesterday and the day prior than that analysis, as we did get our test down into the first level on the PMARP that I have marked off at about five right there. And right now we are bouncing off that level, as we did say was likely. We are getting our bounce to our target that we did say was likely from yesterday to about 44,500. I will actually extend that target somewhat significantly if the next set of conditions are met. But first I want to talk about this because typically speaking, off of a test from the shallower region of this, we have seen some pretty nice moves. Obviously the last one was the confirmation of this bear trap over here, just barely kind of grazed it. But even on this one right here, you know, from closure to next high was about a 15, almost 20% move actually. A few more times other than that, we did see back over here in January 2021 and almost an immediate 20% move, and then obviously extended for more than 100% over time. Same thing over here in this reaccumulation within the context of a general upside move, about 15 to 20%, and then about 100% obviously. And then we have several other examples where it was not a continuation move, by the way, but still did produce some nice bounces, of which I do want to highlight, even on these failures thus far, which were 35% move right there. Not necessarily say that's a failure, but you know what I mean. We have the same thing over here. This one going for about 30%, so on and so forth. Anyways, for right now, off of that current level, how high have we seen from closure to current level? About 8.5%. Let's just play around with numbers for a second. Where would 20% net us? 20% would actually net us back above Bitcoin's last prior lower high at about 48,000 bucks. And that actually is my technical condition for confirming a bear trap on this price action. Once again, getting bullish for a trending move to the deeper $50,000 territory, and it's always going to be available right there. It's the most likely thing to happen. Wouldn't necessarily say so right now, but there are a lot of things to be aware of for what it's worth here. The 4 hour on CME specifically has that same sort of bait and switch on a potential death cross right here, which I love playing these sort of things. Not as a death cross actually, but if we do start to see a closure back above 45,300 or even 45,200, even just 45,000 would probably be good enough as well. I would extend short and medium term targets all the way up to just under 47,000 bucks. Of course, that is not going to get Bitcoin back above its prior $48,000 lower high, but it would look good. And we do see that short term timeframes are looking good right here for continuation, or sorry, I should say medium term timeframes. 4 hour BBWP is expanding significantly right there. 4 hour Jewel did catch the low actually rather well and is continuing as well. Now, do we maybe see a bit of a very, very short-term time frame pullback? Definitely possible. If it does happen, somewhere down to the low $43,000 territory is completely fine. I would not invalidate this idea, especially as long as Bitcoin is above about 43,000 bucks on a 4 hour closing basis for what it's worth. Anyways, going back on over here, I do want to point out that Bitcoin daily Stokes will actually cross back onto the upside with any sort of a closure today above 44.4. If that does happen, I'd feel very comfortable targeting at the very least 45.5, or yeah, about 45.5, with potential to extend all the way up to basically 47,000 bucks. And personally speaking, that is what I think is going to happen, regardless of whether you're bullish or bearish here. Assuming that the invalidation point does not get hit below about 43,000 bucks. Anyways, did I get everything else that I wanted to say right there? No, not yet. Okay, so I also want to combine this with analysis on traditional markets as well. Obviously, we were following NASDAQ for the last few days, and we did get our confirmation of a local low right here. And this also does have hidden bullish evidence, and I expect that this one will make a move, again, regardless of whether you're bullish, somewhere around about 15,350 or so, which is good, and very likely does bode well for Bitcoin, as it does kind of trade with the tech sector. So with that in mind, going back to Bitcoin over here, sorry, I also forgot to follow up on this as well. Bitcoin did on CME close back above the 200 simple right here. To me, this is very, very important as well. Very likely does indicate continuation somewhere around. This one's actually suggesting a little bit higher than what I said on the medium term time frames, but that actually said just below 46. And then of course we do see that if we go down to the lower term time frames over here. Actually, no, we already spoke about that. Okay, let's go to regular charts. We did close a 5-day yesterday. How does it look? Not really giving us too much. I mean, this thing can trade within a 5-day range between where we're at right now and all the way up to 47 or so. Again, be aware of where the conditions do change. I would feel very comfortable calling a bear trap above 48,000 bucks, especially on a 12-hour or daily closure. Until then, short-term timeframes very likely do rally up here. And if we go back on over here, just playing off the fibs, as we did say was likely yesterday, a bounce off the 382 on a wick basis very likely does lead up towards a test of the 618, and that actually is 45,000 bucks. And of course, 45,000 bucks does have bleed on over effects into what we looked at on the short and medium term timeframes. If that happens, I would extend targets to about 47,000 bucks or so, maybe for like a day or two, and then come back to it after that. For right now, I wouldn't say that the downside is necessarily over. Of course, just short-term, medium-term, very likely bounce continuation after maybe an extremely short-term time frame pullback. with 43,000 bucks is kind of like the line in the sand, even for the short-term time, in line with the 0.5 right there. If we were to use closing bases, by the way. Anyways, with that said, I think that is enough for Bitcoin for right now. Nice little day of bouncy bounce, and I'd essentially say that the Bula hopium of of a bit of a bear trap going on right here will be is very much alive as long as above about 43,000 bucks. I also want to point this out as well. Of course, you got your Bula moons coming in once again, because the moons know all, and the moons know where the Bulas do lie. So fair enough, that would be, I guess, it's been a pretty damn consistent thing over the last year. Again, just back test yourself and come up with your own opinion. But from my back testing of that, funnily enough, just seems to work out. One of those weird things. And again, just kind of like talking in general market psychology right here, it's very interesting because I do recall, or it's not that I recall, I do see a lot of people calling for or waiting for 38,000 bucks, which I don't think is necessarily, I mean, it's not that it's unlikely to happen. It's just a lot of people are waiting for a bottom right here. Whether they were bullish or bearish before like the next major bounce. Well, whenever you see something like that, one of two things typically happens. You either get front ran or you get overshot. And in this case, it's a clear and obvious front run. And to be honest with you, if Bitcoin did come down to 38,000 bucks, well, I do think that there would be a bounce there. I think that it would just be just a failed bounce before continuation lower. To me, it's either here at 40,000 bucks or Bitcoin comes all the way down to 32 to 33,000 bucks, way back down around here. Tries to put in a macro low from there. Until then, I do not really see the relevancy of 38,000 bucks, other than it's just the last daily prior low. And almost never do I see a double bottom workout for the long term. For short term, yes. For long term, very, 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 very few situations of that. So in this case right here, the Bulas kind of keep their hopium alive for a little bit longer, which is good if you want to be bullish here. And then we'll come back tomorrow and see where we're at. By the way, perfect bounce off the 200 simple on the 12 hour as well. Should just be identified right there. And yeah, with that said, I'm going to be signing off now. Take care, and hopefully this was helpful. See you soon.